Well, hello, good morning, and welcome back to Here Today, Where Tomorrow. My name's Rob, and in today's deep dive cruise review, we are going to go over all the aspects of my recent sailing aboard the Margaritaville at Sea Islander, and we're going to answer the question, who is this cruise ship for, and is it worth the money? We will start where every cruise starts, at the port of embarkation. The port of Tampa is a fairly easy port to navigate. I have sailed out of Tampa a few times, but that was out of Terminal 3, which conveniently has a parking garage across the street. However, the Margaritaville at Sea Islander does sail out of Terminal 6. It does have a small parking lot directly in front of the terminal, but that does tend to fill up rather quickly, and we just decided to park off-site about 2 blocks away, which was way cheaper, and it really wasn't that much farther of a walk. Now, we did have a midday arrival time, and we walked up to the terminal just before 12:30. They had 2 lines. One of those was for current and past arrival times, and the other line was for people that had future arrival times. They let our line in a little bit more often than the line of people who were early. Now, once in the terminal, there are 2 basic rooms. The first one is security, and the second one is the actual check-in process. Overall, it took about an hour to go through both rooms, but it was a consistently moving line, and we got to meet up with some of our friends who were on our Facebook group, which I'll talk about that in a little bit. So just for reference, this was my 23rd cruise across 5 cruise lines. Most cruise lines, they make you wait in some sort of holding room and they call you by group numbers. That was not the case with Margaritaville at Sea. We literally never stopped moving from the moment we stepped in the door, which was kind of nice. So all in all, it took a little bit longer than I probably would have liked, but I placed their embarkation process somewhere in the middle of all of my cruise line experiences. Now, once we did get through the terminal, we did walk up the gangway onto the ship. This ship, which was built in 2000, was the Costa Atlantica. It was owned by Carnival Corporation under the Costa Cruise line. It was built on the same platform as the Carnival Spirit class, so anyone familiar with those would recognize this ship. And it was resold to Margaritaville at Sea in 2023. Now, on the ship, if you look hard enough, you'll probably see the bones of the Atlantica, but with such a plethora of music to choose themes from, I think they did an excellent job. I did enjoy the layout and the little nods to Jimmy Buffett all along the way. Of course, there are so many song titles and lyrics from his discography that have been turned into theme areas, including the Speakeasy, which I think is a great addition to this ship. If you are a parrot head, then regardless of its steep price, I think you will thoroughly enjoy that intimate experience. I will say that because of the age of the ship, there were some complications for those with mobility issues. We had someone in our Facebook group who was quite dissatisfied with the lack of ADA accessibility on this ship. Even with an ADA compliant room, there seemed to be kind of missed opportunities or maybe overlooked things. I noticed that a lot of the thresholds for doors, which are meant to keep water out, were much taller than other cruise ships I've been on. In fact, I tripped over quite a few of the thresholds, and again, this is my 23rd cruise. I think I would know a little bit more. But we did end up talking to a few people that were using mobility scooters, and they were having a hard time clearing the ramps to go over the thresholds to go outside for the muster drill. So I would hate to see if that would be an issue during an actual emergency where people needed to get outside quickly. I don't know, that was kind of an issue. Age of the ship, we get it, but still not something we enjoyed. Editor Rob here to butt in real quickly. I was just editing a clip to put there talking about going over the thresholds when I remembered I forgot to tell you. They do the in-person muster drill. I must have blocked it out of my mind so much that I forgot to mention it. Yes, Margaritaville at Sea Islander does the in-person muster drills, so you and 2,000 of your closest friends jam shoulder to shoulder out on the deck in the sun while they talk to you about washing your hands and keeping a safe distance and how important that is. Make it make sense. Now let's head to our stateroom and see what all that refurbishment actually means. This is definitely a hard copy of most mid-2000s Carnival ships. Good updates, decorations, and theme. I love the USB-C and USB-A ports on the lights by the bed. I do wish they were household outlets, at least for me, for my CPAP machine, but that's why you always bring an extension cord. I will say I was a little surprised to see a shower curtain in the bathroom, as I feel like most ships are kind of moving towards glass doors, as they're so much nicer. Aside from some words, a compass, some flip-flops, this could have been a number of any nondescript standard balcony cabin on any cruise line. But we did really enjoy the room, its location was great, and it felt very familiar, as we've all cruised on a very, very, very similar stateroom before. Now, if you are enjoying this review, I'm going to invite you to subscribe to the channel. I bring as much information as I can, from daily vlogs, room and ship tours, food reviews, and more. I would love for you to help us grow this channel by subscribing. It costs you nothing and helps me out immensely. So thank you so much for subscribing and engaging with our content. Now, I will say this, I have found some of the most friendly staff on Margaritaville at sea. They pretty much always recognize this consistently. Joe, the restaurant manager, Deanna, who was in concierge, Stephanie, she was the spa manager. All of them went so far above and beyond for me personally that I really felt seen and appreciated. I really, really did love the staff. Everyone was super, super nice, and like I said, went way above and beyond. Now, you can't talk about the staff without talking about some of the amazing entertainers on board. There was quite a bit of live music all around, including the really large band that actually performed on the ship and then performed in the production shows. I thought that was really nice to kind of see that carry on through the ship, so you could kind of recognize them pretty much anywhere you were at. Now, I wasn't a really big parrot head, and I thought that was going to be a disadvantage, but they really didn't overdo it on this ship with the Jimmy Buffett-ness, if you will. Like I said earlier, this is my 5th cruise line. I would say that the shows probably fall somewhere in the lower end of my preference. I felt like the Conky Tonk at Sea was a nice show. It was much better than the Caribbean Heat remix. Both I felt kind of lacked in the writing department. Felt like they just grabbed the top 30 songs in that genre and tried to jam them all into some sort of a show. It was kind of messy for me, and I don't feel like the shows were really put together. They didn't have a story. Again, the talent was good. I felt like the talent was wasted in the writing of whatever that show was supposed to be. Now, let's talk about the food and drink. I have done 2 other videos kind of breaking down and highlighting both the specialty dining and the complimentary dining. I would invite you to go check those out. I'll leave a card right up here for you to go see, and I'll put a link down below. You can kind of check that out. Those go in depth into what we did with the specialty dining package and some of the complimentary dining as well. But I will say I was pleasantly surprised by all of the food. I felt like actual care and consideration was taken in making every dish that I had. Everything from the quick service burger and tacos to my brunch eggs Benedict. The phenomenal sear on the steak in the steakhouse was top notch. I would say overall, food-wise, the selection and the flavor profile was simple, but it was good. It lacked in options, not quality. And on the drink side, the Bubbles bar had some really fun bubble-themed drinks, and the drinks at the Flip-Flop bar in the main atrium were always strong, which of course leads me into our next topic, packages. Now, I don't drink that much personally, so I didn't get a drink package, as it would have been an entirely giant waste of money. I think over the entire cruise, I probably had 5 or 6 alcoholic beverages and a couple of sodas, so the cost of the drink package versus what I actually drank was it's just not worth it for me. As you can tell, I like to eat more than I like to drink, so we definitely tried the dining package, and to me, it was worth it. We did the ultimate dining chill package, which at the time of our booking was $120 per person. Now it's gone up to $160 per person. I do still think it's worth it. I do think it's a good deal. Although on our 4-day sailing, it felt like we almost didn't have enough time to eat at all the restaurants that were on the dining package. In fact, the final night, we ended up having like a smorgasbord free-for-all with some friends that we had met just to use up some of the a la carte credits that we had left. And I'm glad that I did the dining package. Now, I also did the internet package, and it was great, fast, reliable. I never had any issues with that. I wasn't trying to live stream anything, but anything I wanted to surf on the web seemed adequate enough. Now, onto our one port of call, Progresso, Mexico. This was my first time ever going to Progresso, which has the world's longest pier, exactly 4 miles long. We did a tour through Margaritaville at sea into the nearby city of Merida, and our driver and tour guides were amazing. Full of knowledge, culture, history. On our way into town, we stopped at the Monument of the Fatherland and learned a ton of history about kind of the founding and the quite a few different people that helped building up the Yucatan Peninsula. Once we were in the plaza proper, we were free to explore on our own, which we did. We found one of the oldest cathedrals with the largest wooden statue of the crucifixion in the world, which was pretty cool. And after that, we just did some shopping and went for lunch. Now, we were cautious. The tour guide would send us to their people. But after asking a few locals randomly on the street, all of them told us that the restaurant that the tour guide had recommended is the place to get local Yucatania delicacies, and they were not wrong. So I got the cochinita, and it was absolutely delicious. Like right now, I am dreaming about eating that food. I want to go back on this cruise just to go back to Merida and eat that dish. It was so good. But we got back on the bus and headed back to the ship on that super long pier. I will say, because we did a ship excursion, we got on a bus at the pier and headed straight off into Merida. So we kind of skipped the place where the complimentary shuttle drops you off in Progresso. So next time I go, I want to head to that area, kind of see what there is to do, if there is anything right there, where the shuttle kind of picks you up and drops you off. And now that leads us into our final topic, debarkation. What an absolute breeze it was. Now, we had priority debarkation, so we met early at about 6:30 with our bags in hand. They got the all clear just after 7 o'clock, and we were off in less than 20 minutes. But even without priority, it seemed like most people in our Facebook group got off the ship rather quickly. And I will take a moment to talk about Facebook groups. I say this in a lot of my other cruise videos. If you've never been part of a Facebook group for a cruise, I highly suggest doing it. If you've booked a cruise, go on to Facebook, type in the date and the name of the cruise line and the ship, and there will probably be a group there that probably has 100, 200, 300 people in that group. You join that group and you can say, hey man, I just booked on this cruise, I can't wait. And people will absolutely start talking with you. And by that time, by the time your cruise comes around, those people will know you, you'll be able to recognize people, and you will already have a plethora of friends on board the ship. You know you have something in common with these people because at least you're on the same cruise together. So you're already one step away from making new friends, and that's honestly what it's all about. So now we've come to the end. Let's answer the question, who do I think that the Margaritaville at Sea Islander is for? I would highly recommend this cruise for the brand new cruiser. I really do think that if someone doesn't know if they will like cruising, I think that this is a great place to start. I think that because they do shorter sailings with simple itineraries, no complications like private islands to deal with, it makes it easier for beginner cruisers to relax and enjoy the cruise. The simpler dining will ease them into the joy of exploring new culinary tries. I think the staff is amazing and will give anyone an amazing vacation. The layout, theming, amenities are all wonderful for singles, for couples, new and seasoned cruisers alike. Now, if you are a parrot head, then there is absolutely no question whether you should be here. You should definitely be here and check out that speakeasy. I don't know that I would necessarily think this is a great cruise line for families. That's not to say if you brought kids you wouldn't have a great time. It's just that the amenities I don't think are really there for kids. They don't have a splash pad and a big water park like some of the other cruise lines do. They do have slides, they do have pools, they do have kids clubs. None of them are probably as big or as important on Margarita at Sea as they are on some other cruise lines. Now, that's just my opinion. If you want to bring your kids, I totally think it's fine too. I just think that it's really not the best cruise line for family-based cruises. But that's all that I have for you today. I thoroughly enjoyed my time on the Islander. I would definitely sail her again, and I totally think it was worth the money that we spent. My name's Rob from Here Today, Where Tomorrow, and we will see you there. If you like this video and want to see more, please head on over to the channel and subscribe. And if you want to get notified, ring that little bell. We upload new videos every week.